Welcome to our next segment, segment number 37, and this week we're going to start an entirely new topic. Having discussed at length footwork and footwork concepts, I'm now going to tackle a new topic, and that's the topic of the forms in Wing Chun. Recently on the internet, my esteemed Sifu Philip Bayer in Germany, was posting about how Wing Chun is based on concepts rather than applications. And I fully support that and agree with him 100%. But he came under a lot of fire by people who don't understand the Wong Tsun approach and who criticized him and said he had it all wrong. Well, I'm here to say, from my opinion, he had it all right. Because Wing Chun's approach to training is completely different to other martial arts. Typically, most martial arts, when they practice forms, are actually imagining a sequence of combat scenarios against one or more opponents. In Wing Chun, it is nothing of the sort. We're not performing for an audience, we're not pretending we're fighting a series of opponents. We are simply drilling concepts, structures, creating habits in our body that will later develop through drills and Chi Sau and other things to become our fighting skills. So this is one of the things that makes the Wong Tsun and Wing Chun Kuen approach completely different, because we're not focusing on, if you do this, I'll do that. There's one simple process in Wing Chun from our perspective, and that is, I want to hit my opponent and prevent my opponent from hitting me. So when Sifu Philip says that Wing Chun comes down to basically everything is a punch, he's not entirely wrong at all, because what we're trying to do is hit our opponent. But sometimes our approach to hitting our opponent is blocked, is jammed, is prevented because of our opponent's attempts to prevent us from doing that. And this is where the other skills come into play. If I'm throwing a punch and it doesn't get in because there's something in the way, my opponent's arms or body, I have to have a means of changing that. One means might be Bong Sau, another means might be Tan Sau, another means might be Jat Sau, and so on. The list goes on. How do I know how to do that? Not by doing the forms. What the forms are doing are setting up some basic rules and conditions through which I will train certain things. Let's take Siu Nim Tau as our starting point. Siu Nim Tau, we like to translate it, my late Sifu liked to translate it as the young idea. Like a child, we're going to nurture it until it develops into something far more grand than it is as a newborn infant. So the first thing we learn in the Siu Nim Tau form is what? We learn how to stand properly, because everything else we're ever going to do depends on this. If I don't have a correct stance, then none of my hand actions will work. None of my footwork actions will work, because they're all dependent upon this. So the very first thing in Siu Nim Tau is learn how to stand. Develop a habit of a particular structure, which will then be extrapolated into various footwork options. What's the next thing we do? We learn to define where is my center and what is the range within which I use my techniques. This is not an application. I'm not learning to block a punch or a kick, or block a punch or a kick or anything else up here. I'm learning where's the vertical center line, how to find it. Cross my hands at an extended position. Where's the upper end of that center line? Raise my hands in front of my chest. I've defined the most important thing I need to know. Where's the center and how do I protect it? I'll expand on that in our next program. See you next week.